Well, you are at home with Jim and Joy, and today I am with beautiful Lila Rose, and she is the founder and president of Live Action. But before we get into all of that, we want to find out and have just introduce you. You know, you've been on television on CNN, on Fox. You've been on EWTN before on Life on the Rock.
My favorite by far.
And so that's good answer, good answer. And we've also had you as our banquet speaker many years ago, and you did a great job for us. But I want you to tell our family at home how you were born, you're born and raised, where you grew up, and your faith journey.
Sure. Well, I'm from San Jose, California, so born and raised there, right below San Francisco, and one of 8 kids, and the oldest girl. So that I have 5 brothers, 2 older brothers, and then 5 younger siblings.
What number child are you?
The 3rd oldest.
Okay.
But the oldest girl, so stuck between the brothers, and then prayed to God for sisters for years, and finally got 2 beautiful little sisters. And we were homeschooled, so I think there might be some homeschoolers watching right now. So my parents were very countercultural in that they didn't really know a lot of other homeschool families. They were certainly one of the biggest families in our church. I was raised Protestant. And that was just already seeing my parents' generosity and courage, and then having that kind of flexibility in education, where they started a classical academy, so we were getting a wonderful education, but at the same time we were able to pursue our passions and our dreams and really try a lot of extracurriculars. So it was certainly a kind of a ramshackle upbringing with all those siblings and being homeschooled and everything, but it was also a really powerful way to form. I really just thank my parents so much for pouring themselves into our formation intellectually and then of course spiritually.
What was it, Lila, that began to pique your interest in the Catholic faith?
It was a bit of a journey. So again, raised Protestant and became Catholic when I was a sophomore at UCLA. So of all things, found my faith at University of California, Los Angeles.
That's a strange place to find your faith.
The people say, what happened when you went to UCLA? People lose their faith at college or things, but that was really a time when I thought, I want to find the truth. I want to get closer to Christ, because I had encountered Christ as a child. I was reading scripture growing up. My parents were devoted, faithful Protestants, but I didn't have that fullness of the faith yet. And my dad actually was on his own faith journey, where he was reading church fathers and doctors, and my mother was a Latin teacher. So we were translating Aquinas in and out of Latin in high school. I was, that was like one of my least favorite things to do, but we were doing that. So I was being catechized. But my parents, it hadn't clicked fully that they wanted to become Catholic, and my mother was raised it, but fell away, so returning. So anyways, when I got to UCLA and started to really study it more, I thought, click, click, click. I had already studied a lot of the teachings. I was in love already with the idea of the saints. Blessed Mother. I wanted to just, who's this mother of Jesus, this woman, this greatest of all women? How do I learn from her? And so it was really almost an inevitability factor, where the intellectual dots were clicking, and then I met some good Catholics, and I was a goner before too long.
Now, but how did you become pro-life? Did your mother take you to the abortion clinics? Tell us about your grandparents and their influence in your life too.
Yeah, so my grandparents, a few of them, they're all living, thank God. And growing up, I had all of them. And 2 of them lived, my father's parents lived close by to our family. And my grandmother would volunteer at a pregnancy care center growing up. So my parents, they weren't, there was no 40 days for life. They weren't, praying outside the abortion facility, but they were, they had 8 kids. So they were very pro-life. And I would go and lick envelopes as a little kid with my grandma at the pregnancy care center to, ask for money or whatever. So already I heard about abortion. I had known, knew a little about it, and I thought, I want to help, help babies. But it didn't really click until a little bit later that I wanted to devote my life and my heart to the cause.
Yeah. Well, for those who don't know, your ministry with Live Action, your work has been broadcast all over the world. And to think, just to envision you at a pregnancy medical center, crisis pregnancy center, just licking envelopes. And you
7 years old.
You never know who's in your midst and the influence. But you had an encounter early on in your life. And tell us about that, about age 9.
Yeah. So already I'd heard about abortion, because again, I'm licking the envelopes, and my parents they're pro-life, but again, they weren't activists in the sense that they were out at the abortion clinic or anything. So when I was 9, I had this encounter that would really set off a number of other moments for me that strengthened my conviction and resolve about standing up for life. I was looking for a book to read. It was, you know, like my parents had bookshelves all over the house, homeschool family, books everywhere. And on the bottom shelf of a book in the living room, I found, I was 9 years old, this book called A Handbook on Abortion by Dr. and Mrs. Wilkie. You might have heard of this book or seen it. Oh, and I thought there was a very kind of 80s hairdo looking woman on the cover, and I remember thinking, this is an old book. You know, I'm 9 years old. This is like from the 1980s. This is history. So I was kind of interested. It said abortion on it. So I open it up, and it falls to the center, and there are these images, and I was just shocked. And I close the book, I push it away, and then I gather up a little bit of the, you know, curiosity and courage. I open it up, and what I was looking at was the image of a tiny child, maybe 10 weeks old, first trimester. You know, at that stage, there's some tiny arms, legs, a tiny little face that had been torn apart by a first trimester powerful suction abortion. And I'm 9, and I'm just, my heart is cut. I think, is this real? Is this really happening? I find my mom, I show it to her, is this real? And she says, yes, it's abortion. And I wanted to learn more. Any kid who finds out about abortion, they think, that's crazy. They're very upset about it. And I find out there's over 3,000 abortions every day in our country, over 1 million every year. Planned Parenthood alone is killing a child every 97 seconds in our country.
Every 97 seconds.
Planned Parenthood, the biggest abortion chain, this tax-funded organization, they get $500 million a year in tax money. So I started to learn these things by reading the book. I started to ask questions, and that started to kind of create this sense of, wow, I'm safe, I'm protected as this, you know, kid growing up, but there's children out there close to me in America where we're supposed to be safe and, you know, free, who are not safe, who are not protected. And that was really the initial inspiration.
So at the age of 15, you founded Live Action. What did that look like in the beginning stages?
Why?
Very simple. I was praying as a teen. I wanted to give my life to God, and I thought, I want to do something about abortion. God, use me, I prayed. Very dangerous to tell God, use me. So I thought, well, I'm going to start, I didn't even think I'm going to start a pro-life group. I tried to call and find one to join that was doing youth education. There was nothing in the Bay Area. So I thought, well, I guess we'll have to start a pro-life club. So I got some friends together, made some brownies. Like,
Food always helps.
Yeah, that was always the trick. You know, I'm making really brownies, and there'll be pizza, and you know, let's get together and talk about learning more about abortion, how to communicate about it, and then to educate our peers. Go to maybe churches or youth groups, and so it was really starting very simple. Education, and I had no idea then the trajectory I'd be on, but it was, let's do the next right thing.
Right.
Let's just do something to make a difference.
And then, I guess Live Action really took off when you went into college.
That's right. So it started in high school. We actually started giving these multimedia presentations, which were basically PowerPoints, a few videos. We showed what abortion victims look like. This is a child. We went through fetal development, the risk to the mother, and we would go out there, you know, we're 15, 16-year-olds, and we'd give these presentations at youth groups, and we begged the pastors to let us in, we begged the schools to let us in, and we actually got some traction. I don't know, homeschool kids, they're way over ambitious. So not all of us are homeschooled, but a lot of us were, and so we're kind of nerds, you know, studying our materials. So we started to do that, and then I got to UCLA, and I was like, UCLA, you know, this huge 40,000 people on campus. I was going to start a Live Action chapter. I thought, how do I educate the people here? How do I stand, you know, as a loving witness for people that are having abortions? I knew people were getting pregnant in the dorms. My first few months, I knew there was a hookup culture. You know, girls that were just facing devastating situations. You know, totally, many of them accidentally. They just didn't know what to do. But there were no pregnant students on campus. So I thought, students are either dropping out if they're going to have the baby, or they're having abortion. Having an abortion. So that really launched Live Action UCLA, which was, let's investigate how the health center at UCLA, government funded, is treating pregnant students. Let's then investigate Planned Parenthood in the community and how they're lying to women. And we started to, my first undercover investigation of Planned Parenthood, then as a freshman at UCLA, was to expose sexual abuse cover-up of young girls, because there's a lie that's told that women are helped by abortion, and Planned Parenthood is helping women, and that's a lie in every way. So the idea was, let's expose it and let's use investigative journalism to do that, to get the message out to other students.
So what does investigative journalism look like? I mean, what were you doing, if you can share that?
Sure, well, of course, yeah. Well, I can't share what we're doing today, but we still have an ongoing program, and it's grown tremendously in the last 8+ years. But the first investigation was very simple. Again, just like starting live action as a teen was in my living room. It was getting a camcorder, getting a voice recorder. I had, studied my research. I was going to pose as a sexual abuse victim because this was something the media was not reporting on. Planned Parenthood rampantly covers up the abuse of young girls. They go to Planned Parenthood, they're taken by their abuser to Planned Parenthood, and they're supposed to report it immediately to Child Protective Services or police if there's an abuse situation, but they just
We have to report that
We
as
have
well
to.
in our crisis pregnancy center.
Exactly.
And we do.
If you're a medical provider, if you're working with children, and obviously foster care, or you're working in the school system, you need to report something immediately. And I went in, I was going to pose as a 15-year-old. I said I had a much older boyfriend, 23, the first Planned Parenthood I ever walked into. And then the second one, just a few hours later, in the downtown part of LA, they told me to lie about my age. I said, I'm 15, I think I'm pregnant. I said, he's a lot older, he's 23, what do I do? And they said, lie about your age. They said, figure out a birth date that works.
Oh my
They
God.
basically told me to fudge the paperwork. They'd give me a secret abortion. Nobody would ever need to know. They wouldn't tell anyone. So immediately it was this, you're an abortion statistic for them. You're $500 to $2,000. You're not a woman or a young girl who's vulnerable, who's scared, who's hurting, who they want to serve. And that was just, it should outrage us because they're parading as good and as serving women. And they're getting, $1.5 million a day in taxpayer money. And,
Wait, say that again.
$1.5 million a day.
A day of our money? Well, okay.
And that could increase if we get the wrong president, in office. So it's, people just don't know. And that was what inspired the live action to start its national outreach. Education, exposing the truth, capturing it on videotape, and then we started to build a social media following, which is now over 1.5 million on Facebook, and it's growing every day, reaching millions of people a week, because if we can show them what Planned Parenthood is really doing, we can show them the truth about abortion, people are really moved, and they want to, many of them are willing to reject the pro-abortion position and join the pro-life side.
Well, and what we hear from clients, they'll have maybe a 13-week-old abortion, and they paid $176 for it because they got funding. They went in and they filled out a form where they didn't have enough money. And so you're like, what? But then we talk about what she paid it for in her life. And then, it's an opportunity then to heal and repair and restore this broken person. But yes, that is happening. And I know there's outrage. It's like, no, that's not happening. Yes, it is happening. And it is government money. And it is, and how can we stop it? It's like, stop this.
I think it's hard to believe when we live our lives. We're here in this beautiful studio right now, and, we have our families, we have our challenges, and, there's always scary stuff happening with the election and things like that. But America, we're very prospered. We're very blessed for all of the way that we treat those blessings. But the fact that we're literally tearing limb from torso, we're destroying our most precious gift, our children. We're treating them with such, barbarism, cruelty. I mean, we wouldn't even treat little dogs or kittens that way. We give them...
well, they have more rights than the unborn, right?
Well, they're given anesthesia if they're going to be put to sleep. Children up into the 3rd trimester in our country, up until birth, are torn apart. Children who are feeling pain, children who had a future, children who should have been loved into life. And that's America, this country built on human rights. So once you start to really see how bad it is, and then also what a gift life is. We have to stand up and speak out. We can't just allow this abortion to continue to really ravage our country, and these groups to lie to our young people, to lie to women. We have to speak the truth.
Yeah. Well, your beginning in terms of real involvement at age 9 was because, to a large degree, as shocking as it was, and maybe your parents didn't want you to see that, and there's a big controversy about abortion images, but you had an encounter, and it wasn't just simply a debate or discussion about pro-life and pro-choice.
Right.
You saw a person, and you encountered a little baby that had been killed in such a heinous and brutal way. And I often think that's what's missing in the conversation, is that we're debating things, but it's not a person. And once you get that this is a person and not just an issue, it's seared upon you, and you're never the same. So this is why it's so critical. People say, well, why do you say go and look at abortion images? Well, maybe you just want to start with fetal development and see how beautiful, and then just think about what an abortion is and what it does, and we can show you what abortion is and what abortion does. And that's the phrase that Father Frank and Priests for Life and we've used for some time. What do you mean when you say abortion?
Right.
This is what we say to the girls when they come. They're here for an abortion, they're here because of choice, they're here for whatever. But we say, do you mean what doctors mean who perform the surgery of injecting poison into the heart of a baby, or dismembering limb by limb? And again, viewer discretion, right?
Right. Well, I think that we shut our minds off. There's so much rhetoric. It's politicized.
Yeah.
And so people just shut their brain off. And you have to wake up the mind with the heart. And that's, give them that, let them see the child, and let them see the child wounded, the child killed. That is really that encounter that moves people.
How are you doing that with the pro-choice community, or people who are choice just because they don't have the information? How are you helping them to see?
Well, we're really excited because in the last year, since actually just the last 6-7 months, we've launched a campaign called abortionprocedures.com. And it has already, there's 4 videos, they're medical animations of the abortion procedure, narrated by a former abortionist, and they're actually showing through medical animation what the baby looks like at that stage, and what that different abortion procedure does in first trimester, second trimester, and third trimester. It's the truth.
Right.
And but it doesn't show, the blood and the gore that people might shut it down and say, I refuse to look. It invites people to imagine what is actually taking place. And the videos now have over 50 million views online.
That's incredible. 50
The most
million.
viral videos we've ever definitely produced, and we've seen the pro-life movement have, because people are sharing them. I mean, over 500,000 people on Facebook have clicked share of these videos onto their Facebook pages. Many of them not pro-life. And the comments we're getting back are so wonderful, because people are saying, I was pro-choice, now I'm pro-life. I didn't know that this is what abortion was. This is horrific.
Yes.
I was going to have an abortion, now I'm not going to. I mean, we've gotten just beautiful feedback from people saying thank you, or I was pro-life, but I didn't really do anything, I was pro-life, but I'm Catholic, I'm a Christian, whatever, but I didn't really do anything. But now I know I have to do something. And that has just been amazing to see, really people actually changing hearts and minds.
Well, we're speaking with Lila Rose. It's liveaction.org. We hope that you are encouraged. What a great model for our young people. We want to hear from you. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Well, before we went to break, Lila, our guest today is Lila Rose, and she's the president and founder of Live Action. You can go to her website, liveaction.org. Well, back, I think it was in March, the FDA changed the abortion pill. It used to be you could take that pill 49 days after gestation. Well, for whatever reason, the FDA changed the dosage and the length. It used to be 49 days and 600 milligrams of mifepristone, right? So then they changed it to 70 days, and so it became the 70-day abortion pill, and then they lowered the dosage to 200. Not really sure why, but that's what they did. And so pregnancy medical centers, we were scrambling. What do we do? How do we get this information? And so, because it was happening like fast. And meanwhile, I had clients who were coming in that wanted to have the abortion pill. So I called another great group called Mark Crutcher, right, out there in
Life
Texas,
Dynamics.
Life Dynamics. And they didn't have anything for me, but they said, wait a minute, go to Lila Rose and see if she has something for you. So we went to your website, and lo and behold, there was Dr. Levatino with your great information.
Abortionprocedures.com.
So as Lila was sharing with you all about this beautiful way that they've come up with communicating and affecting and infecting people, we're using it, and we're saving
good. I'm
babies'
so
lives
glad.
and injuring women, you know,
so glad,
because
Joy.
they see it. We go in with a little iPad because we were so quick to it. You didn't have any DVDs available at that time, so I said,
do now.
You do
You
now,
can
so
order
you
them
can go to
online."
liveaction.org and get the
Yeah.
DVD. But we just went and got iPads because I needed ammunition, right? And so we had ammunition. We equipped our counselors going with the girls, and they're looking at it like, what?
Did you realize this is happening in pregnancy medical centers?
A little bit.
Okay.
We get folks calling us, and I understand you called, you know, and we love that.
Because this is every day when we go into the center. We have 2 iPads, and we got the iPads
showing
because you
the
didn't have the
video.
DVD.
Yeah.
I'm
And
so glad.
they take it right into the counseling office, and I would say almost every day a life is saved because they're seeing. It's incredible.
me cry.
No, and that's the impact.
All the
So-
pregnancy medical centers, you
Yeah.
need to get the DVD from liveaction.org.
It's on
showing the
liveaction.org. It's on abortion procedures. And our dream with this campaign, if we can continue to raise the support for it, because it costs money to advertise, is get these videos in front of every student, every high school, junior high, and college student, and get these videos in the hands of every pregnancy care center, every other pro-life activist, so that they can use them to educate,
Right.
to transform people. It saves lives, it changes minds.
Yes.
But I'm so glad that it's been helpful.
And
I'm so
even what
glad.
I've done is, even when we're taking a girl on the phone, if I can't get the appointment, she's still abortion minded, she wants the abortion pill, and I know I can't get her into the center, I'll say, okay, before you do that, go to this website. Go to abortionprocedures.com and then call me back and let's have a conversation.
Wow.
So it's there. So it's doing great, great work. Well, right now we're going to go straight to the phone because we have Mike on the phone. Mike, welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy. Your question or your comment for Lila?
Oh, hi, Joy. Hi, Jim and Joy.
Hey, Mike.
I love your show, and I've seen Lila Rose many times, and I love seeing her, and I'm very proud of her. My question is that I'm not so proud of my past. I lived for many years actively in a homosexual lifestyle, but I've returned to my faith,
Praise the
and I'm trying to live a chaste life as
Beautiful.
best I can.
Beautiful.
Again, I'm so proud of Lila, but I'd like to be more active in the pro-life movement, but I'm afraid people will think I'm being hypocritical since, I'm not going to have a child myself, and I was wondering what Lila would think about that.
Mike, thanks so much for your call and for your testimony. God bless you and strengthen you. Lila?
Well, yes, Mike, thank you so much for your kind words. And I mean, it sounds like you're living an amazing witness right now. And, you can certainly speak the truth on abortion, on life. You can speak the truth with your own testimony. So I'm just very inspired, even just with what you shared. And we have places on the Live Action website, things that you can do, whether it's as simple as social media sharing or other ways to get involved. And there's a lot of other great pro-life organizations. But never feel, if we are sincere about our faults and our challenges, and we're all sinners.
On a journey to holiness.
We're all on a journey. We're all struggling, and no one can judge our struggle but God Himself.
Amen.
And that's between us and God. So you are already, your humility is just so beautiful and inspiring to me. And you stand up with that humble, kind spirit that you have, and people will be touched when you stand up for life. So.
But Lila, that's just like what the devil would have us to do. He wants to disquify us.
Totally.
And just say,
And we're all
disqualified.
Only by God.
Therefore, the grace
Christ
of God
alone.
go I, right?
Exactly.
For years I was an on-fire Christian, and I wasn't even praying that abortion would come to an end. I didn't even know where the abortion clinics were. Yet the blood was on my hands, but I just wasn't participating. So we're all not qualified, but for the grace of God, we all have a story to tell, and to go and be a witness to say, I once was blind, but now I see, and I want to be part of the solution and make something good happen.
Yeah, I can remember doing prison ministry with a great ministry called Kairos, and we'd spend 3 days in the prison system. We'd sleep outside, but we'd go in, and I was speaking with this one guy who was really brokenhearted and trying to live in the right way, and he said, I just could never really have a relationship with God. I said, I killed a man, I murdered a man, And so I just empathized with him and with the guy who he murdered. I said, I did too. I killed somebody too. And he said, you did? I said, yeah. I said, that's what all Christians have done to some degree. It's like I killed the Lord with my sinfulness. Yes. So I said, it doesn't justify what you've done, but it kind of qualifies us all, because that's the deal with Jesus. He bore our sins. He laid down his life for us. And so that's very important for Mike and for everybody. Don't be guilted out.
Yeah. And every day, for me even, there's a reason why I'm not qualified. And, I think Satan attacks us, especially with pro-life work, and especially with any challenges we've had in the past or failures we've had in the past. And that's where you arm yourself with your faith, and you go to our Lord and you say, Lord, help me. Help me be who you want me to be, and give me the strength, and God will never abandon us in the struggle.
Lila, I want you to speak to there's the whole conversation about media, every form of media, whether it's TV or radio. Then of course you've got Facebook, and you've got Twitter and whatever else, emails, and everybody's in the screen. And some people have just said, that's it, it's over. I'm not participating anymore. I don't want my kids to be a part of this. And then you've got some that are full bore with it. And could you speak to our people about the use of social media? I mean, you're just ablaze with it, a holy blaze with it. But what counsel would you have for parents and for their children and the use of media, social media?
That is a great question. And it's funny, I have my phone right here. They told me after I brought it up, you're not supposed to have it up there. But that's a great question, because media and technology are not immoral or moral necessarily. They can be used for good or bad, right? They're tools. And today, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, Facebook, whatever, it's all there. And our kids are consuming media every day. And so Live Action, of course, is we're trying to put out good media, pro-life, pro-human dignity, the truth of love and life on social media. But if you're a parent, I look at what my parents tried to do with my younger siblings, and I hear stories of other parents. I'm not a parent, but really age-appropriate interaction with technology, and then that entryway to media. So you don't have your laptop alone in your room if you're, a teen boy, or you're a teen girl, or you're a young kid. And you can actually, there's a lot of great services to filter on phones, on internet, to have only certain apps allowed or certain programs allowed. So I think the biggest thing I would just encourage for parents is interaction, talking to your kids about it, explaining the use of media and why it's a good thing. Media can be a good thing, but there's bad things in it too. Pornography is a huge area that parents, more than any of it, there's a lot of bad messages that can come through, whether it's, bad entertainment media or things like that, but the porn issue is the biggest, I would say, as far as what's just devastating to the psychology and the spiritual, spiritual health. So I think the number one thing is just educate yourself as a parent, be interactive, but form your kids, because ultimately they're going to leave the house. You can't control them their whole life. So what my parents did, which I love, is they really tried to encourage and foster our freedom, but really form us, to tell us why. If they wanted us to not do something, they explained it. We walked us through. Obviously that doesn't mean we just do whatever we want, but there was really a formation of, let's build healthy habits now, because when you're an adult and you're on your own, just as many temptations and challenges. Right. So it's really forming and fostering healthy habits, having that conversation. And then age appropriate, I think, for phones and use of laptops and things like that.
Okay, we're going to go straight to the phone. We have Betsy on the phone. Betsy, welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy. Your question or your comment for Lila?
Well, hi, Lila, and hi, Jim and Joy. Thank you guys so much for this great discussion. My question is that I am finding that I'm getting into a lot of political discussion about the upcoming election, and I've gotten some arguments about, quote, this is not about one issue. This election is not about one issue. And my personal view is that this is where it starts. The pro-life, the abortion issue for me is the most important. by far. And I just was wondering if you'd had suggestions as to how I can talk to them in maybe a convincing way, or
Yeah.
you
Thank
know,
you so much for your call, Betsy. Lila, any thoughts there?
I would say two things, and it is hard no matter what right now with the election, and there's so many debates happening, and people's feelings are hurt, and people are angry and frustrated. But I would say the two big things in any election that I look at, and what I'm looking at for this election, you have to look at two things. First of all, the issues and the valuing or the prioritization of those issues. Life does come first. The church teaches that, and I believe that human rights tell us that. The first right is life. So where do the candidates stand on the issues, and life, what is their position? And life has to come first. If we're killing our children in the womb, nothing really else matters as a country. We can have the best border security if that's the issue you care about, or great immigration policy, pro-immigration, or we can have great foreign policy with other countries, or strong economy, whatever. But if we're killing our children, we're allowing that, and the state is complicit in it, then what good are we? But the second thing to look at is prioritization of issues, but look at the history of the candidates. Look at not just what they say, but what they've done. And study that history, and then you can make your comparison between the different candidates and vote for the one that is the most consistently pro-life. And no candidate is going to be perfect, but you want to find a candidate that you can accept that is also not going to compromise, or at least has spoken for life and said that that's a position that they take.
Well, it's well said. And
it's hard, though. This is a hard election.
This is a tough election.
It is hard, but you have to vote principles, right? Not personalities, because we got some amazing personalities here and character issues. But what she was saying, what my daughter recently was looking to buy a house. So she went house to house. I went with her. She looked at everything upstairs. I go to the foundation. Is there leaking? Is the foundation okay? The foundation to the house of life is the right to life, the fundamental right to human existence and to life. And then the rest of the things in the house regarding the life issues are all related to life. If you're not alive, you can't experience anything else. So the right to life is the fundamental issue. So not every issue has the same weight to it. And there's a sense of urgency, because we understand that the unborn, the elderly, the handicapped are being targeted to be killed. So there's a sense of urgency that no other issue has. So we've got to keep looking at the principles, see where these candidates stand, what the track record is. But I think Betsy and I think you are both right. That's the foundational issue. Everything else is built on from that point.
Okay, we're going to go straight to the phone. We have Andy. Andy, welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy. Your question or your comment for Lila?
Oh, yes. Thanks for taking my call, and thanks, Lila, for all you do. Thanks, Jim and Joy. I'm a father of 5 children, and my oldest is 7. I'm just wondering how I can safely introduce, abortion, and at what's the right age that I can safely introduce this horrible thing to my children, so that they, deal with it in a safe way.
Okay. Thank you, Andy. And what a great thing to have such a beautiful family. We got about 2 minutes left, so you might want to say a word to Andy.
It's a great question, and I think that if your child's old enough to ask about it, they're old enough to be begun to be told about it. Now, it's age appropriate again. I saw my first abortion image when I was 9 years old, and it didn't traumatize me, it grieved me. So I think, you understand your kids best. Kids mature at different, different kids mature at different ages.
Yeah.
But I think if it's contextualized, talking about abortion, so that, it's not done in a way that is like, the whole world, you're in danger too, and the whole world's going to go crazy. But there's some people out there, this is something that's happening, and it's very sad, and we have to pray to stop it. But, we love babies, and God loves every child. It's about contextualizing this horrific thing. So whether they're, 10 years old and seeing their first abortion image, or they're even, they come across it, or it's part of their education in one way or another. But again, I think every parent has good wisdom. There's great resources online, and again, encouraging that just a conversation with your child about it, to discuss this is what it is. But I firmly believe if your child's old enough, if they're going through puberty, they're hitting that time, they're immediately already, whether even if you hide every phone and laptop and they're homeschooled, and the culture is the culture.
Right.
And they need to be educated, of course, on their own bodies, on their own sexuality, and educated on what abortion is. And so I think that that's a key age, if it already hasn't happened, to really have that education.
Lila, thank you so very, very much. And if
Thank you.
you're like us, you can't get enough of Lila Rose. Go to liveaction.org, liveaction.org. Don't go away.